Greetings, enlightened ones. Thank you for joining your generic store brand Reverend. So in today's video, we're going to be going over how my second day of class went. Funny enough, this is actually probably like my third day, just because my instructor was kind enough to allow me to join her on Monday. I literally raced right after work. I raced right over to her evening class, which was at 7:30. And mind you, I work in Humble. Again, you guys know I'm a technician, so I work in Humble. And I had to drive all the way out to Houston afterwards. So as you can imagine, this is how dedicated I am to this career, this choice I've made. Is even when I'm fucking turning wrenches all day and I'm super fucking tired, I still manage to find the time. And the reason why I did join her on Monday was because I'd emailed her and I was like, hey, so I'm having a hard time trying to figure out sequencing, and I still am kind of iffy on it. I understand it, but then I don't understand it at the same time, so it's something I need practice with. But with these scripts, I need to figure out how it is that I can figure out sequencing, because that's also in tangent with like memorizing scripts and shit. When you can just chop it down by sequence, it makes it that much more easier to memorize. But the funny thing is, what I actually find it easier to what I'm finding easiest, at least for me, to memorize a script is actually just understanding key words to my character. So for instance, if there's a verb and it's like jumping or talking, I don't know, you get what I'm saying. Like if there's a verb or something that's like a key word, and we're gonna get into keywords here in a second too, into a script, that's how I can actually memorize a script very well, in terms of just keeping it in my brain and then practicing it before bed and as soon as I wake up too, and just every now and again just going over it just to make sure it stays fresh. That's actually what's been helping me. And I thought from my previous video that it was going to be insanely difficult for me to remember scripts, but apparently it's actually a lot easier than I thought. But hey, before we even get into this bit of information that I learned today, if any of you guys are watching me and are actually from Houston, let me tell you, fuck 59 right now. I don't know what's going on, but ever since like it seems like we had the little bit of rain that we had on Friday, they've completely shut down the 59. So when I was even on my way to school, I was 30 minutes fucking late. I was getting so fucking pissed, because it's like, I spent hard-earned money on this. This is something I'm fucking super serious and super passionate about doing, and I can't even fucking get to class because I got this fucking traffic that's literally preventing me from getting to school, essentially, or class, whatever you want to call it. I left an hour early. Yeah, my classmates, they were asking me, they're like, well, if you left an hour early, where do you live? Like, you must live pretty far. And I'm like, well, I'm way the hell up north of 59. I'm not going to disclose the whereabouts, but I'm pretty on the outskirts of Houston, right? Like, I don't live in the actual city, so, I have to travel, and I told them, like, that I'm just that serious. Like, if I have to travel, and the industry is just there, it is what it is, at least it's not fucking 2 hours or 3 hours, it's literally just, realistically, it's actually about like 30 minutes to get to class. If traffic is good, 30 to 40 minutes from where I live, at least in the heart of Houston, or at least Midtown area, Central. But yeah, to get into class, you actually kind of have to like knock on the door. And so I was afraid that I was going to be locked out to get into class, and I was going to get to school or class or whatever, and not even be able to get in because I was fucking like damn near 30 minutes late. So yeah, from now on, I'm going to be checking my phone on maps to ensure that I'm going to have plenty of time to get to class. Like, someone told me too, it was like, you probably might want to leave at like 12:30 just so that way you can get there. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, if you guys are taking 59, be very careful right now. I don't know what's going on, why they shut it down, but apparently maybe something got flooded out. Probably a bunch of dirt got swept onto the on-ramps of 59 or some shit next. It's closer towards Houston. It's not like near Beltway 8 or any of that, so just be mindful. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and go over Monday and how that went. I'm just going to combine, I guess, both days into one. There wasn't a whole lot, but there was a little bit of some information that I had learned, like I had talked to you, well, as I had mentioned in my post, and anyway, that we would talk about. So we were talking a little bit about on-set stuff, and so I had kind of brought up the question. I'm like, well, let me understand scripts, right? Like, should we memorize everything word for word, or is it okay to just kind of improv? She said, absolutely. You can improv, and you could just, long as if it flows, long as if the scene flows with what it is you're talking about, and it doesn't shine away too much from what is actually being said, you can improv and you can basically make it your own, because that's highly encouraged, apparently. So that's very reassuring for me because I think I'm 50-50. I'm okay with improv. I don't know if this is how you say this, the word anyway, but improvisation or improvation. I don't know if that's a word, but sometimes I can improv, and then other times I completely start rambling because I'm trying to figure out. It's like brain salad or word salad in my head that I'm just trying to fucking come up with something on the fly to keep the scene rolling. She was also telling us in terms of, I guess, Hollywood and just, I guess, acting in general. I would assume this even applies more to Hollywood, is that it's not so much about the acting as it is about making the scene perfect. And what do I mean by that is it's essentially like making sure the lighting's right, the makeup looks the same, everything that's on the table, the scene is exactly how it should be. So let's say like you have to come back in the next day, but the lighting's off or something's been moved. Everything has to be painstakingly in the same locations as they were. The acting is what it is. Acting can kind of be touched up and fixed up in post editing, but what can't be fixed and what really breaks the immersion or illusion of acting is literally when a scene is broken. When you got like a cup missing over here when it was in the other one. I think a perfect example of this was actually Game of Thrones. I think the final season, was it season 7? They were in like a throne room and they had completely forgotten to remove a Starbucks coffee cup or some shit like that in the production of it. How to really break the illusion that you're actually watching like a medieval type of TV series and you got a fucking modern day Starbucks coffee cup just sitting right there in the on the fucking this giant ass table where all these other guys are basically just talking around. So yeah, it's absolutely critical that a scene stays completely untouched, especially if you're coming prior from the other day before. Everything has to be completely perfect, and acting means nothing if a scene is completely broken. And she was telling us that TV is actually very 9 to 5, and what do I mean by that? Well, if any of you guys have been watching my channel for a while, which I do greatly appreciate, those of you that have stuck around this hot mess of a channel that I've constantly changed over the course of the years and months, but TV is like it's very much like a job. You don't see it as a passion or a work of art for that matter, or anything that I'm gonna say it again, anything that you're passionate about, like you actually care about, or it feels like art. It's just it's a 9 to 5 job. You come in at 9, you leave at 5. You just do your job, you act, and you go home. But there's really no creativity, I guess, is the word I'm really looking for. There's just no emotion or any real depth behind a lot of TV series, for that matter, because you got to pump these episodes out like very fast, right? So there's really no time for fuck ups. It's very fast moving, fast pace. And there's no real time to really process what it is you're doing. You're literally just acting and going home. That's it. And then we kind of went over, what happens if you basically forget a line, right? Let's say like you're on set, you completely lock up, and you're like, shit, what is my line? Well, number one, first thing to do is do not stay in character. Do not let the audience know that you have forgotten your line. So you may be asking yourself, well then, how do I keep myself from going shit or spiking the camera and being like, damn, can we do that again type of shit? No, so if you ever forget, you don't want to do this when you're starting out, of course, like especially if you're independent and you're not really working on a big film, and you yourself as an actor, you're not like Johnny Depp famous or anything like that. It's kind of frowned upon to do this. Again, especially if you're not a big actor, but you say you're in a like you're acting out the scene, right? And you're throwing your hands like this, but you're locked up because you can't figure out what your next line is. Well, you literally freeze is what you do. You freeze and you'll just be like, line call, and then somebody's going to read out your line, and you stay stuck like that until you get it in your head, and then you proceed. Then when you have it, then you go, yeah, Johnny was just that the other day. He was just fucking off and blah. And you get what I'm saying. So you line call if you don't remember. God damn, that cat is going ham. She's got the witchies. Anyways, if you basically just line call it, and then they'll give you the line, so that way you can continue it. There's actually a lot of famous actors, and apparently, especially apparently Johnny Depp, from what my instructor was telling me, where they don't actually memorize any of the lines. Like, I don't know how true this is, but this is what she was telling us. Johnny Depp apparently actually has like an ear thing that he has in his ear, and they recite the lines to him. And the reason why they're allowed to get away with that is because they're so good at what they do in terms of acting that they can kind of get a free pass to basically just have the lines being read to them in their ear while they just produce them on camera. Now that's like cheating essentially, and that would be kind of nice. I don't think I could get away with doing something like that anyways. I don't think I could cheat like that just because my brain doesn't process that type of information very quickly on the spot. I have to have somebody tell me, then I also have to process it and quickly then go, okay, how would this character say that in the way that I'm gonna then replicate it on film? Like, that's something that I don't think I could do super fast like an actor like that could do. So I guess in a way it is its own skill. And then we were talking about keywords. Now, keywords are so we were kind of discussing this at the beginning of the video, but keywords are essentially like specific things in a script that you give emphasis to. You're giving a specific word a bit of life, I guess, to really encapsulate emotion. So, for example, I'm going to read this off of the script that I had to do in class today. So this is how you would give emphasis to a word, essentially. I'm first going to do it without emphasis. You're going to hear it just, I'm just going to produce this part of the line, and that's it. So what's the problem this time? You probably heard there was no emphasis on any word there. It was just like me reading a line, right? So when you're giving emphasis to a word, you're giving it emotion, right? Like we were just talking about. So I'm going to reproduce that to how I would have interpreted it. So what's the problem this time? So you see how I gave a little bit more emphasis on that's basically what you're trying to do. You pause on that word a little bit to kind of give that particular word some emotion behind it. Like, this script is it's actually supposed to be a comedy. It's funny because I interpret it as more of a serious role. And it's funny because I asked my instructor, I was like, so how do you interpret a script as either comedic or it's taking itself serious or what have you? And she's like, it just comes with time. You've read a bunch of scripts. You can kind of tell that they all follow a kind of format to where how you could interpret it being either a comedy or a script that even takes it serious, like we were talking about. Then we talked about physical comedy. So because this is a comedic skit, we were kind of going over this a little bit on Monday. We were talking about basically physical comedy, so using a bunch of gestures, redundancy, things that are very over-exaggerated and all over the place. So we were just talking about the different forms of comedy, and that's pretty much where that kind of went. And the three major things to take away from this in terms of being able to deliver your lines efficiently is to remember to listen, process, and then deliver it. Towards the end of this video, I do have another demonstration of me actually presenting this script. There were some things that I had left out, which again, I'm practicing, of course, but I had went over these lines with another classmate, and I was really focusing in and honing in on what he was telling me. And if last week, if you remember what I was talking about, communication is extremely vital in terms of processing what it is your next line is supposed to be. So I was trying to hone in and listen to him as much as possible, so that way when he would say a specific phrase, remember as I was talking to you guys, my memorization is based off of phrases. If he said something that was a phrase that was very specific, it would allow me to then remember my next line and then remember exactly what it is that I need to tell him. And it works phenomenally, at least for me in any way. But again, we will show that at the end of the video, and again, just like the last video, some of the things that I do need to work on. Alright, so let's get into Saturday now. So Saturday was kind of spicy, at least in terms of the Hollywood scene. So we talked about Hollywood, and this probably comes to no surprise to you or even myself. We talked a lot about the political aspect of Hollywood, and no, we're not talking about like politics in the sense of like red versus blue bullshit. We're talking politics like basically he said, she said type of shit. It's very, as you can imagine, Hollywood is very pretentious and very egotistical, and it's something that I would never allow myself to get that far within corrupting my own spirit or my own self, I guess. I would never let Hollywood consume me like that. I had asked my instructor, because we were talking a lot about the egotisticalness and the these self-righteous behaviors. And I was like, so you would tell, so what you're saying is there's a big level of unprofessionalism within the acting industry? And she said, absolutely. And that's very disheartening to hear, because I'm not about all that bullshit. Like, this is something that I'm actually very extremely passionate about. Acting has always been something that resonated with me the most, and it's actually honestly very crazy that I spent 7 years of my life wasted in school to become a nurse, and to realize that it was something that I didn't want to do. And hell, even when I moved out here, um, I thought cars, like, and I guess that's a secondary. I guess now that I'm realizing that acting's actually was and always was a primary thing for me. I thought cars and getting into the automotive industry was something that I wanted to do, only to find out that it still wasn't fulfilling me when I had tried it. I'm in a shop right now, and I wouldn't say I hate it. Don't get me wrong. I love turning wrenches. I love torquing shit. I love turning bolts and shit, and learning about new technologies and new things on cars and what have you. Right? I like it. It's definitely better than where I was coming from before with the nursing shit, but still not fulfilling to me. It's still just not what I want to do. And so it's like I said, it's very disheartening to see that there's people in Hollywood that really just take advantage of this art, and they turn it around and use it to just basically fuel their narcissistic egos and shit. And it is what it is. It's just basic human nature. I could go on and on for hours about this type of shit. I kind of even brushed up a little bit about this in my why the 5-0 community is toxic. I talked about the tribalism with human nature and why people do the shit that they do. So I had asked her, I was like, so what is the best advice you can give to an aspiring actor like myself? Should I just completely, obviously this is common sense, keep to myself and retain my level of professionalism? And then she said, absolutely, stay out of everything that you hear and literally just keep to yourself, because at the end of the day, nobody is your friend in Hollywood, which is the best advice, which should be common sense. Sometimes people need to be reminded of this, especially in Hollywood, because you hear about this in the workforce, right? Like, nobody's your friend, you're there to work, whatever, but do not make friends with anybody in the acting industry. You're literally there to do a job and go home. Now, that's not to say that you can't have friends within the industry, but it shouldn't be people that you work with. I think that's the key right here, right? Unless it's somebody you just absolutely can, 100% rely on. Anything that you tell them, they're not going to use against you, because that's the thing with Hollywood is whatever you say can and will be used against you, because these people will take that and be like, I'm going to use that to gain a one up above you. Hey, did you hear what Ethan said? He had said something about X, Y, and Z, and then that director hears you, or that makeup artist hears you, and then they spread that same shit in the politics, all right? And then basically you're no longer able to work anymore, because all this bullshit had been spreading around of something you said that was either personal or an opinion about something, and it's a mess. And that's why, if you are going to get into this industry, you have to keep a tight lip about what the hell it is you say, because these people are like wolves. They will fucking throw you under the bus the moment they can, just to fuel those narcissistic egos and put themselves on the fucking golden shit platform right up here above you. And then we kind of went over reels too. Like, so I asked her, I was like, so what should I be? Should I just be starting now? Like, should I just absolutely start looking for work on Actors Access? And she said, yeah, you probably should be. And I said, I'm not even looking to get paid. Like, I will do things like freelance, like just do shit for free and just see what sticks, basically, And she said, yeah, absolutely. Then my next question was like, should I be investing in a backdrop and a softbox and all that shit, which I told you guys I'm already going to start doing that shit anyways, because I want to do things on this channel in terms of body animation and shit like that. And, yeah, she said absolutely. Well, she didn't say absolutely, but she did say that it will help you in terms of just being able to promote myself, which is something I already thought. But she said a reel is mainly more so like a scene from a movie, and you basically just reenact it. but it has to fit the setting too. So like, let's say the scene takes place in a park. You don't want to be doing it off of a backdrop. You want to actually be in a park and basically reenact the scene exactly how it was. Because that reel is essentially like your resume to basically get jobs. So directors will look at it and see whether or not you fit a particular role based off of the reel that you have. And a reel doesn't have to be just one scene. It could be, it's basically a compilation of a bunch of different things that you've done all into one. And in a way, when you get more work, your reel or your compilation is going to be just prior movies that you've done or prior TV shows or whatever work it is that you've done. You take those, you collab it all together, and then that is then going to be your reel. But when you're somebody that's just starting out, you would do something like me, for example. I probably do something from Shaun of the Dead, because Shaun of the Dead is one of my favorite zombie movies. So I would probably reenact Shaun in a particular scene that was just funny as shit to me or something. But also at the same time, though, if there's particular roles you're trying to shoot for, you may want your reels to demonstrate that, right? So you may want to, you're trying to be the killer in horror movies, right? Or a particular killer or a particular serial killer or whatever. Just a particular character in general. You may want to fit the types of scenes you're doing for your reels. You may want to fit that, and that's just my own personal advice. That's not coming from my instructor. That just makes sense. You're trying to audition for a serial killer and you're doing these comedic reels. It doesn't make any sense. These comedic compilations that you've done, it makes no sense that they're going to choose you when all you're doing is just a bunch of comedy. Now if it's like comedic horror, a little bit different. It just depends on the character. It really depends exactly what roles you're applying for that will fit exactly what that demo reel is, right? And again, there's actors that can do a wide variety of different things, and we had talked about this a little bit in the prior video, how when you get an agent, a lot of the times they just throw you in the same role. And I completely forgot, there was a couple other questions that my uncle wanted me to ask, and now I'm shooting myself in the foot as I'm thinking about this, about some of the things that I needed to ask her. And then I just kind of wrote some notes critiquing my classmates. Not that I critiqued them and said anything to them, but just things that I'm watching my other classmates do. It's more of a psychological thing that I'm just processing in my head. It's not to shame them in any way, because obviously I'm learning myself, right? But some of my classmates, I'm just kind of critiquing them for just information based for myself, really. So I noticed when they were doing their scripts, we were all given different scripts, mind you. And I noticed that one of my classmates has a really hard time with elevating her voice. So like, she thinks by being louder, it's more expressive. And my instructor was trying to tell her, like, you need to lower your voice because it's not helping with the expressionism that you're trying to portray. So it was actually kind of funny seeing that. And then my the woman she was conversing with in the script, she was doing the opposite. She was talking too low. She was doing a great job, but she was talking a little too low. So then the expression wasn't prominent enough because she was talking too low. And then my classmate that I was conversing with, and you're going to see that actually in the video here coming up probably right after I talk about this. As we were conversing with one another, he wasn't giving enough expression while I was giving a lot of expression. Personally, when I act, it's just something that comes natural for me, and something I love doing is animating, and that's why I want to do a lot of body animation. Animating is just, as you can see, I throw my hands all over the damn place. I'm very lively. It's something that I love doing, and I think that's why acting is something that is just something I really love doing, is because I get to do that. And then something I personally need to work on is, it was funny because I wasn't even thinking about it, I was subconsciously thinking about it. I almost spiked the camera, and I think we had talked about it last week. Spiking the camera, I'm just going to touch up on it again. You're basically over here, pretend I'm like talking to somebody from like this distance essentially. And you just kind of, for whatever reason, your head decides to turn and you look at the camera like that for a split second, and then you go back. Or something where you do it really quick and you don't mean to. That's spiking the camera. You want to make sure, this is common sense of course, but you want to make sure for whoever it is you're talking with, you should not be looking at the camera or even thinking about the camera, even ever remotely being there. Because the moment you know consciously that the camera's there, you're going to want to look at it. It's like a natural thing for us to do, that we want to look at the camera. But you want to try to make it non-existent as possible. So yeah, as I was actually conversing, I almost spiked the camera, or I may have just slightly, like a millisecond of spiking, and I had caught it while I was doing it too, and that's why I immediately looked away because I thought I was gonna do it, but then I collected myself and was able to go right back into my classmate. And then there's stemming or fidgeting as it is. So you don't, it's basically doing a lot of like movement, doing a lot of this or a lot of this or just something while you're producing the scene. The thing is though is I know not to do those things, but for this particular character, I was trying to be nervous because this script that I was doing with my classmate, it's actually like I said, it's a comedic skit. So, but I was still trying to act like the nervous Nelly type of character with this. And so, when I think of somebody that's nervous, I think of somebody that's fidgeting around, moving around in their seat, and they just can't sit still, right? Because they're anxious. But my instructor told me not to do those things because it's very distracting in terms of the actual camera and what's being shown to the audience. A little bit of movement is okay, but when you're fidgeting around, that's when it becomes a problem. And then I was also told to do a lot more eye contact, which is funny because, again, I'm in character right now. So the fidgeting and the eye contact, I did those things deliberately. It wasn't because I chose not to do them, but it was because I was trying to act the nervous character, right? Somebody that's nervous isn't going to want to make a lot of eye contact. I mean, they will, but for brief moments, right? Or if they're trying to talk about a particular thing or to get their point across, especially with this type of script, they would then proceed to go back to asking this person these questions rather than constant eye contact at all times. Now, of course, there's no scene, so it's really hard to be in character and to understand what this character would do without really getting the setting involved and really being immersed into this character, right? Again, that's a totally other topic to get into, your character, but I think that would help me a lot to understand a particular character if the setting and the scene were just right for me. But at any rate, I had to make more eye contact apparently, and it's not something that you should shy away from. Whether that it's in the character's nature or not, you want to try to maintain as much eye contact as possible. But despite all of that, she was actually still very impressed with our performance and that she actually really genuinely enjoyed it. So I guess that's a win. But of course, you guys are going to be the judge of that. So I'm going to put the clip on right now of basically us going over this script together. So to kind of fill you in before you watch it, it's basically two individuals. One of them's a doctor. The other one's kind of like a hypochondriac type of person. And it's funny because what makes this a comedic skit is the doctor even asks this guy that I'm actually going to be playing as, his name's Mickey. He asks him, he's like, I talked to your father. Yeah, he complained about chest pains. And then my character says, yeah, well, he's a real hypochondriac of the family. And it's an insinuation to poke fun at me because I think I have something that's wrong with me, which may not be in anything at all, essentially. But yeah, here's the clip. So let me know how you guys liked our performance. I do greatly appreciate critique. Like, I really don't have any problem with critique. Hell, you could say it was garbage. You could say it was trash. I really don't give a shit. I take everything into account because this is, again, something I'm very passionate about, and I'm always looking to refine my craft. So if you guys like the performance, let me know, because I'm genuinely really curious just to see how I performed comparatively to what you guys may think. So anyways, without further ado, let's get into it.
Action.
How you doing, Dr. Evil?
Hey, Doc.
What's going on today?
Well, I definitely have something. I'm very convinced now that I have something. It's not that adenoidal thing that I did.
Oh, by the way, I actually saw your dad earlier this week. He was complaining of like some type of sinus issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think you also mentioned something about like chest pain as well.
Well, he's definitely the hypochondriac of the family, and I mean, he's.
Oh yeah. You called earlier today about dizziness, right?
Yeah, a little bit of dizziness. I feel like I'm having some hearing loss in my left ear. No, my right. No, wait, definitely my left ear. No, I'm sorry. My right ear, yes, it's definitely my right ear. Wait, maybe my left.
Okay. Right.
I don't know anymore.
It's okay. Let's take a look, okay?
Okay.
So you just the tight. I'm just gonna take a look inside your ear real quick.
Okay.
Here. Alright, turn over. Sure. Perfect. I'm giving you these headphones. I want you to take a listen. All right?
Okay.
I'm gonna take them from you, and I'm tuning for it. I just want to try and see if you hear something. Alright, well, sorry to tell you, so it does look like you have a little bit of decreased high decibel hearing on the right side of your ear.
Really?
Yeah. Have you been listening to a lot of loud music, or have you been sick lately?
No, Doc. You know me. I'm perfectly healthy. I don't think there's. Why do I have something?
I mean, so it depends. Like, how long has it been going on for?
Maybe like a month, I'd say.
Okay. And it's only the dizziness. What about like ringing, buzzing, something like that?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, definitely ringing and buzzing. Yeah, ringing and buzzing. But nothing more than that.
Okay. And it's only in the right ear?
Yeah, just the right ear.
Okay. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, you know, we'll bring you to the hospital. Okay. I just want to run some additional tests on you, all right?
But the hospital? Tests?
Yeah. So you don't have to get alarmed or anything like that. This is just, in the hospital you have like specialized audiometry equipment that I can use. It's really nothing.
Well, if it's nothing, then why do I have to go to the hospital at all? I mean, you know what? I'm perfectly fine. I just won't go to the opera.
That's fair. But I don't want you to panic or anything like that. Okay. This is just me doing my due diligence. Just want to make sure that we're really got everything. Okay.
Okay. Well, Doc, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Well, if it's not a virus,
Mm-hmm.
all right, and it's not hearing loss, what other possibilities could it be?
I mean, so it's a broad range of things, right? So most likely it's probably hereditary, okay? It could be due to a viral infection like the flu, or even like small noise can do it.
Nothing more than that, right?
I mean, it depends, right? If we're talking about like a spectrum, right, on like the darker side of it, it'd be like a brain tumor.
Whoa, really?
So yeah, that was the script. So for next week, we actually are going to be able to choose a script of our choosing. And again, I think I'm going to be doing Shaun of the Dead. So I'm going to take a particular script or role and just basically reenacting a particular scene. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. I genuinely look forward to what this opportunity has in still for me. I'm definitely going to be attending other classes. I think, you know, after this class is over, I'm probably going to start thinking about doing voiceover. Even though I really genuinely like acting, I've been really hyper focused on voice acting and voiceover work. It's the same thing essentially. As you guys know, I narrate the Outlast Trials evidence documents since they're not currently, as of right now, narrated in the game. So I thought it was a pretty good opportunity for me to just narrate them and try to come up with different characters. And it's funny because every time I'm just about in the shower, I'm doing voices. I'm doing voiceover work while I'm just in the shower. I mean, the other day I did a really demonic, which hurt the hell out of my voice to do, but I did a very demonic type of voice, and I immediately went, damn, that sounds really good. I think I'm going to encapsulate that. So as soon as I got out of the shower, I immediately got into my voice editing software, and I had hit record, so that way I would keep that voice saved so I can reenact it later or utilize that as a reference so I can use it for a future project. But yeah, if you guys liked the video, like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, you guys have a good rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Peace out.